everyone, and thanks for joining me. I'm Donna Carrick, the host of Dead to Rights, the podcast. I'm here today on behalf of the Mesdames and Monsieur of Mayhem to introduce you to Blair Keetch. And Blair Keetch has a story which will appear in the Spirit of 13 in the fall of 2022 from Carrick Publishing, called To Catch a Kumiho. Blair is a mystery writer. He's based in Toronto. His short story, A Contrapuntal Duet, was selected for the Emerging New Mystery Writer for In the Key of 13 anthology, which was also from Carrick Publishing. Yep. His other short stories include Deadly Cargo in Heartbreaks Half-Truths, Sleep, Perchance to Die in A Grave Diagnosis, and Killings for Sale in Asinine and Assassins. I hope I said that right. His story, Sex, Lies, and Snowmobiles, is part of the 40th anniversary Crime Writers of Canada anthology titled Cold Canadian Crime, which is coming out very soon. And a number of our Mesdames and Messieurs will be featured in that anthology. He also has some online stories, including A Crunchy Kind of Death and 300 Miles to Murder, which can be found at darkstormybc.com, as well as Glimmers, which is at Shotgun Honey. So if you want to find out more about Blair, you can go to blairkeetch.com. And thank you for joining us, Blair. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
Very well, Donna. And as always, wonderful to speak to you in person, and very excited about the 13 spirits, because I've been blessed. I've been in 2 of the Carrick Publishing books so far, and this will be my 3rd one. So I'm always glad to be part of the Carrick family.
We're really thrilled to have you. We think that you bring a fresh new voice to everything, and we're really glad to have that. But the burning question of the day is, what is a kumiho?
Well, when the call went out for ideas of the latest anthology, came up with spirits, and then I started thinking about close to home. My wife is Korean, so I started to think about Korean legends. And I looked into, and it's easy to go down a rabbit hole here because there's so many folklore, but one that really struck me as interesting was the Kumiho, and it is usually it is a 9-tailed fox that disguises itself as a beautiful woman and uses her allure to seduce and kill, or at least eat out the heart or liver of young men. So that was sort of the jumping point, and a little bit of supernatural in there, but grounded in a traditional mystery.
All right, excellent. And the thing is, research is like crack cocaine for writers, isn't it? You talk about the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were so many possibilities, and at times I love to procrastinate. So research, it was like, oh, I'm working on this story, but I wasn't always writing as much as I'd like to. But
I know. I'm a little bit addicted to research. Whenever I get started on something, the research always just kind of tail spins. It's so much fun. I love it. They say write what you know, but I say learn about what you want to write.
Exactly.
So tell us about your characters. You've got a character by the name of, I had some notes here to remind myself. Sorry. You have a character by the name of, let me show how good my memory is, Majarav. Tell me about Majarav.
So Majarav is, and again, a really fun character to write on that one there. So she may or may not be a Kumiho, and she's a detective is hired because one of the characters is concerned that her brother is dating a Kumiho, and that's Maja. And again, sort of playing around with the legend a little bit, instead of being a dark-haired Korean, she's actually sort of a blonde Swedish woman, but with very eccentric habits. Someone who really enjoys eating meat, for instance, and a person, when she sort of enters the room, there's sort of an electric ripple in it, and animals act a little strangely around her. So the detective is like, maybe there's something up with her, and that's part of the the mystery itself is
And part
trying.
of the allure of her, she is very seductive, but so is your other character, Sujin. And, I thought, red herring as soon as I thought about Sujin. Because, we're talking about this seductive Kumiho, and there is Sujin right there at the front.
Exactly. Sujin is I would also say very seductive in her own way. And I think with a lot of mysteries, it's what is real, what is the hidden personality of a character.
Mhm.
And I think, or I hope at least, that as the story progresses, you sort of view Sujin in different ways.
Mhm.
She sort of starts off as, almost sort of like a university student in her demeanor and her appearance, and then she becomes a little bit more sophisticated, and then at times she seems be very manipulative. You're wondering, is she manipulating, or is there an emotional spark between her and the character? So someone that
Mhm.
I hope
Mhm.
keeps her perspective, the reader's perspective at least, I hope keeps shifting through the story.
Yes, exactly. Which is not easy to do in a short story, but it's something that's really fun for the reader when things do move around a little bit. And Jiho, of course, is the potential victim of the Kumiho. Tell us about Jiho.
Jiho, again, sort of touching upon my own family. Jiho is my son's middle name. So he has, after he was born, we consulted with the relatives on my wife's side in Korea, and it was almost like astrology to a certain extent. They gathered information on the time he was born, where he was
Was it
born,
numerology? Did
and
you apply numerology?
almost similar to numerology to a certain extent. And then they came up with like 3 different, auspicious or good luck names that could be his middle name. And I like Jiho because, one, it was one of the names that I could pronounce accurately in Korean, and it also flowed well with it, with his first name Adrian and things like that. So for this character, I thought, okay, I'm going to name after Jiho. But again, Jiho is one of these characters. Again, I think he might be overshadowed by the female characters, and perhaps rightly so. But again, you sort of change his perspective. You wonder, is he being manipulated? Is he being truthful? And like any mysteries, it's like, who's telling the truth, or
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
on that one there, because you realize that he is a very savvy business person. So you
Hmm.
can't really take him. You can't underestimate him in many ways. But again,
Well, it's
things come out.
beautifully written, Blair. It's really a
Oh, thank you.
beautifully written story, and I hope that listeners and readers will come to it when In the Spirit of 13 comes out, and will look for To Catch a Kumiho by Blair Keetch, because it's beautifully written. It deserves to be widely read. And this is the thing I find about your stories, is that they're very smart. I really liked a contrapuntal duet. I know I'm saying that wrong. As soon as you get on camera, all your words go upside down and
Yes,
backwards. That's what happens. But I loved it. It was so clever, and it went from character's viewpoint to character's viewpoint so seamlessly, and it just carried the reader right through to the conclusion, which I'm not going to give away, because our listeners can find that in the Key of
Oh,
13, which is already widely available. So look for that. And tell me a little bit about the story you've got coming out in a cold Canadian crime.
that is, I think, sort of a very quintessential Canadian story, and I don't even think I realized this as I was writing it, but it does involve a cold climate. A good part of the book takes place in Sault Ste. Marie. It does involve snowmobiles, and it involves forged hockey cards. So really, I'm not too sure how much more Canadian I could make it.
So think Bob and Doug McKenzie, but with an edge.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the fun things about this story is that without giving it away, I started with, and I usually sort of improvise my stories a lot. And as you know, are you a planner or a plotter or a pantser? And I'm very much a pantser. In this story, for this particular story, I had this scene in my mind, which is actually the last scene in the story, and I kind of worked backwards on that. And again, even though for a short story you only have a little bit of time to establish the characters, I really liked the characters in this one, because the central character is a con man who, to a great degree, you should be not like, or his actions are immoral at times. But I wanted to write him with a sort of a sympathetic lens to him, and then the idea of pulling off a con. But as anything, there's no such thing as a perfect con, and there's always going to be twists and turns. So it was a fun story to read.
It sounds great. I can't wait to read it. And that's in Cold Canadian Crime, which is coming out soon. So wherever you are in the world, I want you to know that our writers and artists, we're a match for anyone in the world. And I don't say that just out of sheer conceit. I have met and read and enjoyed so many Canadian writers. And my husband and I are also in love with Canadian painters. So look for our art, because you'll find that you're going to enjoy it. I really hope that you'll look for Blair Keetch. Blair, just remind listeners where they can find you, what your website address is.
Sure. My website is blairkeetch.com. And it has links to the books, talking about larger works in progress and latest releases. And I'm hoping to start a monthly newsletter when I can find the time. And
when you can find the time. Talking about larger works, what are you working on?
I am working on a longer novel. It's called Flight Risk. And I worked in the aviation airline business for years. And again, the part of the idea comes from my time in the airline industry. But I'm not too sure what my word count is there right now, but I'm certainly well past the halfway point.
I remember we talked about the premise for Flight Risk before, and it does sound fascinating. I cannot wait till it comes out. So that's going to be a real treat to see. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Blair. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward to having this book out and all of us being able, I hope, to get together in person to celebrate.
Oh, that would be lovely. And again, it's such an honor to be part of 13 Spirits and to be, in the company of such fine writers as yourself. And
we are a pretty good group.
Mesdames and Messieurs. They're a really talented group of people, and it's as I say, it's wonderful to be part of such fine company.
Thank you. I agree. But then again, I'm biased.
Dusty road, man alone. His vital signs go on hold. And I don't know what you've been told, but the years have turned my eyes gold. And I told you what you told me, we'd never be in the same boat for free. Yet it rides, let it ride.